Everybody, very happy to have you all with us. And again, as I said, my name is Sven Kallen. I'm the founder of LifeTerra, and it's an honor to be moderator today with you guys. Thank you to all the speakers for being with us, and of course, thank you, Luc, for webinar leads for you for hosting this event. So, as we said in the introduction, teaching sustainability is now a must in most universities, and it is booming. We see it all across Europe and across the world. But how are the universities themselves performing? That is the big question of today, because we think that they could be leading the way to really put sustainability in practice. Universities have to become really truly sustainable in order to be an example for the students. So obviously, a lot of them are working already in energy transition. You can think of the application of all the amounts of big roofs that they have for solar energy. And then there's lots of other possibilities they can do. Energy efficiency is a big one. And then there's other issues to take into account. You can think of water retention, you can think of carbon offsets, and there's even university changing the menu in the cafeteria to offer more sustainable choices. In this webinar, we will talk about all these opportunities that exist in order to create more credibility and transparency in this sector. And some of you top universities are already leading the way, so we can learn from them. We'll first, as Luc said, have a short introduction on each of the speakers that will last for 10-15 minutes. Then we will have a moderated Q&A for the remainder of the webinar. And the last 10 minutes, you as attendees can post questions in the chat, and we will try to resolve those. So first, let's go to the speakers of today. Very happy to have them with us. We have, in a non-related order, Ivar Maas, lead sustainability at the Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam, but also part-time PhD candidate. We have Michela Cobelli, who's heading the international office of the University of Pavia, and also a head of international mobility. We have Friso Verveld, who's an associate partner at Ernst & Young EY Strategy and Transactions, who has a track record on everything that has to do with renewable energy and also how to pay for the investment for that, which I think is interesting for the institutions. And then last but not least, my dear colleague Nadia Stomp, who's responsible for partnerships at the LifeTerra Foundation and who has been working with universities in order to increase the participation of students and faculty members in order to really create local climate action and impact. So, without further ado, I'm happy to introduce our first speaker. Maybe just give a couple of minutes of your time to explain your background and particularly your relationship to the theme of today. So I start with Ivar, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you very much for having me here also. So my name is Ivar Maas and I'm the head of the Sustainability Office at VU, which is the body within the VU University that is responsible for the implementation of its sustainability strategy. We work on that together with a team of people, and there we try to integrate sustainability in education, in research, in knowledge transfer, and in its operations. And then I think especially if we think also about beyond a green campus, where the real impact of universities quite often is it with the students, and maybe additionally also with the type of research we do. But those are, I think, that is really the essence. Furthermore, I have a background in environment and resource management and in social psychology, and I'm currently doing a part-time PhD on transformative change towards sustainability in higher education institutions, which is basically the topic that I'm also working on. So there I try to find synergies between research and also policy implementation.
Fantastic. It's a pleasure to have you with us, Ivar. So much different perspectives on the issue at hand, and with your background in sustainability, for sure we can learn a lot, not only about Vrije Universiteit and their initiatives, but also from the trends in the sector themselves. Let me move to the second speaker for her introduction, Michela Cobelli. Thank you for being with us as well. The floor is yours.
Thank you everyone for inviting me. My name is Michela Cobelli and I'm working at the University of Pavia, which is located in Italy. I'm the head of the International Mobility Unit. So basically what I'm coordinating, I'm dealing in my everyday life of work is to provide the students, but not only students, also faculty and all the academic community in general. I'm providing as much as possible international opportunities. We are dealing mainly with the Erasmus program, of course, but coordinating also bilateral exchanges with not European countries. And of course, the topic of the webinar of today is something that we are discussing since years in order to solve the dichotomy that we have on end. We have to increase mobility opportunities abroad for our students, of course, and we want to do that as much as possible, but taking care also the fight to the climate change. So not easy at all, but we are here to provide some best practices we are developing.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Michela, for that introduction. Now we move to our third speaker, which is Friso from EY. The floor is yours, Friso.
Yes, thank you, Sven, and thanks for having me today. Look, I've worked my whole career in renewable energy. First at the bank, providing funding to renewable energy projects. Then at an energy company, setting up solar activities, and now at EY. I think my main role is to help my clients realize their sustainability ambitions, and helping them access funding for it mainly. So in practice, that means assessing the viability of business cases, reaching out to financiers, banks, investors, and really helping to shape that business case into something that is investable and bankable. And I do this in the more traditional renewable energy space, such as solar and wind, but also in circularity, sustainable heating, energy storage, basically anything related to energy transition and resource transition. And it's really motivating to help clients realize their ambitions on, let's say, the financing front. And when we are successful and realize those ambitions, then that's really rewarding. So with regards to today's topic, my perspective is really focused on concrete measures that you can implement as a university, around your real estate, your energy consumption, your mobility, and of course how to make sure that that's a sound business case in and of itself. So yeah, really happy to be here today, and looking forward to discussing with all of you.
Fantastic, because there's always a lot of good ideas, but in the end, somebody has to pay for it. So it will be great to hear from your insights. Right, let's move to Nadia to discuss a little bit about the role of LifeTerra and universities and what we do with them in order to make this whole sustainability a little bit more concrete. Nadia, the floor is yours.
Yes, my name is Nadia, originally from the Netherlands, what you might can tell by my Dutch accent still. I live in Barcelona now since a few years, and I joined LifeTerra Foundation 3 years ago. I'm responsible for the partnerships, like Sven mentioned, and I work very closely with universities to also help them to engage their students to take climate action. So I've been in contact a lot with the green offices. I don't know if there may be some students listening here that are also part of the green office, because many of them really try to make an effort to green their university. And yeah, it's been a cool ride. It's challenging sometimes, but it's very nice and energizing to work with people like Ivar, who's here today from the Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam, to really try to make a change and include students in taking climate action.
Wonderful. I must say that we have been very active with universities so far in the Netherlands, but we are looking forward to expanding, so sharing those experiences, and then later on hoping to expand that to other European countries, because Life Terra is already present in 17 European countries. So that's nice for you to know. All right, I'm going to now move directly into the questions after having the first introduction of the speakers. And my first question is actually for Ivar, because you said that you are, of course, responsible for the implementation of sustainability at the VU Amsterdam. But what have been the biggest, let's say, drivers, but also barriers in order to implement the measures that the sustainability initiatives that you've been driving forward at the university? If you can say something about that.
Yes, definitely. I think concerning the drivers, what really helps at VU is that we have, on an administrative level, big support. So we see that the CVB, which is basically the the administration of the university, is very willing to adopt it. It's not for nothing that sustainability is one of its priority areas, which means that in the overall strategy of VU, we have 3 different priority areas, which is entrepreneurship, diversity, and sustainability. And because it is then so prominently mentioned, that really helps. And that is, I think, also quite essential. And added to that is that we also got resources and a mandate to work on it. And also that, I think, is very essential if you want to take sustainability leadership in these things. You have to integrate it into your strategy and give a clear mandate on for a body that is going to work on it, and make people responsible for it also. Then a second thing that I think is a very big driver is the community. So we have quite an active group of students, but also of teachers that internally also really push for change. And I think that is really essential, because I can say, oh, we should do something about, we should integrate more sustainability in our education. Yeah, sure, I can say that, but it's so much stronger if students ask for that change. So, well, that's maybe also a request to all of you, know, and maybe a sense of awareness, know the power, let's say, or the influence you have as a student on what your university does. It may seem so big, but yeah, universities also are there, and primarily are there also for you to teach future generations. So yeah, know that is a role that you also have. And then maybe on the other side, concerning barriers, I think we are teaching, we are approaching sustainability not yet as a real crisis. So it is very much on top of mind, but you see still quite often that when it becomes very difficult, sustainability is sometimes steered away from, or if in terms of maybe big investments, it's sometimes quite difficult. You still need to put in quite a lot of effort to convince to go for a more sustainable option. It doesn't mean that it's the worst option, but it's still that this sense of, yeah, we are in a climate emergency, we are in a climate crisis, we have to treat it as such also. That is not fully felt yet, I feel like. Not everywhere, at least across the university.
Understood. That's great input. Thank you very much, Ivar. So it's not only top down, but very much also bottom up, which can help to bring that change about, that awareness and that willingness to change. I was wondering, Michela, do you have sort of a similar feeling about that at your university? And also, I would like to ask you, you are the head of mobility, so you have to attract a lot of students, and then there's sustainability issues around that. Sometimes maybe these are not exactly in balance, those issues. Can you say something about that and your experience around those issues?
Absolutely, yes, Sven. And in fact, I prepare a couple of slides that I want to show with our audience. If I can have just briefly, there is no, okay. Anyway, I have the same feeling of Sven about the theme we are discussing today, and I'd like to share some recipe that we are developing in my university. But I have to say that with all our European partners, this kind of discussion is very relevant. And we have the same approach, both bottom-up approach and the top-down approach. In the slide that you are watching, I just put some ideas of what we are developing. I'm very practical, so I'd like to provide students, our students and staff, with instruments that can use to be more sustainable. So in our case, we develop a sustainability policy for international mobility, in which we are trying to discuss with our students about what we can do together on green services and behaviors about sustainability, in particular when they are traveling abroad or coming in our university from abroad, of course. We develop some
I think Michele has a slight technical issue. Maybe in the meantime, when she comes back, let's move to Friso, because you made a very interesting introduction. But sustainability has, of course, a lot of perspectives and a lot of angles. You can think of energy, water, waste. There's so many. Where do you start as a big organization like a university or a higher education institution? Just some of your thoughts would be interesting.
Yeah, I think there's not a very simple, clear answer to that one. I would say, we advise our clients to first start with defining goals. What is really, where do you want to go? What do you want to achieve in terms of, for instance, carbon reduction or becoming fully climate neutral at some point. And the next step is to develop a roadmap, how to achieve those goals, and the planning to get there, and what for your specific case can be measures to achieve those goals. To make that very concrete, it can be isolation of your campus, installing solar panels, installing LED lights, procuring sustainable energy versus traditional energy. Very basic, simple things can all help achieve those goals, but it really depends on your specific situation which of those make the most sense. And I think the next step is to try and build a business case for all of those measures, to see if it's a feasible idea. Does it indeed? And so on the sustainability side, do those measures indeed get to where you want to go? And then from a financial perspective, what's it going to cost us? How do we finance it? Is that really a viable option for us as an organization? And then, as a last important point, I would say, and I think with the Ivar and Michele here today, we have good examples of organizations that already have a team in place of really executing, first developing and then executing on a strategy But I would advise definitely all the organizations that want to have a focus on this to take that very seriously and have that organization in place to execute on the plan and to report frequently on the progress of it to all your stakeholders. Of course, for universities, that will be students and teachers and the broader environment around it. So not a clear answer, but definitely something that there's a certain kind of decision funnel that you have to go through to really decide what are appropriate measures for your specific situation.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Of course, you have to create a fantastic plan, well-designed plan, but then create also internal champions that can bring it forward and have it implemented and monitored. So I think, thank you. And I just see that Michaela is back, had some technical glitch. Maybe we can move back quickly to the slides that you were talking about and see if we can continue your answer, Michaela. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Sorry for this, but with technology it could happen. Anyway, I was saying that one of the main activities that we are bringing in our university is about to provide students and also staff with specific economic support in order to co-fund green travels when people they have to move abroad. And this is something that I guess all of European and worldwide universities should do. I mean, the sustainability for sure has a cost, and I think that really youngers would not pay for it. So as institution, we should provide as much as possible the possibility for students to be able to travel in a green way when they go to another university. Another project that we are activating in our university is dedicated in particular to students that come in our university for a short period, for a semester, for one academic year, and they have, of course, when they are coming in another country, they have to buy stuff, stuff for departments, bicycles, and so on. So we created a flea market in which the students could share their stuff when they don't need anymore. And they can exchange everything that they would not to bring to their home countries. Finally, considering a top-down approach as an institution, we are working for tree planting compensation. Not all the people that are traveling are able, of course, to take green means of transport. We are exchanging students in every part of the world, and it's impossible for some to take green means of transport. So in the case the people cannot to travel greenly, we do a tree planting compensation, and I think with Life Terra we could develop a project together. Then we also open some students contest in order to receive projects on green on fighting of climate change and green mobility directly for the students, because the students and the youngers, of course, in most cases have as best ideas than us. And also we are thinking to introduce in a long-term way a green agreements policy. So I think in our long-term vision, In the next year, we will reviewing all of our agreements and bringing them with the universities that already develop a green policy.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Michele, for those comments, both bottom up and top down. I particularly like the comment on tree planting, of course. That's our passion. And so it's a nice bridge also to Nadia to explain a little bit more about what we have done as Life Terra with universities, how that experience has been, and how it can help to give an impulse to more climate and sustainability initiatives at university level. Nadia.
Yes, I was also pleased to see the tree planting in Michele's presentation. When it comes to our collaboration, we're really focused on engaging the students. So, of course, the compensation and the carbon storage, what happens with trees, is a very, very nice plus. But in my role, I've been really focused on working together with universities and also giving students the opportunity to take actions. What I really enjoy about working with universities and students is that you don't need to explain them like we need to make a change and we need to start doing something because they already want to. But where do you start? And to give an example, in the Netherlands, if you want to plant trees, where are you going to plant it? It's hard to find land. Where did you get the trees? What kind of trees do you plant that have a higher rate of survival? There comes a lot of specific knowledge in place, which people just don't have. And I think what I've been seeing, for example, with collaboration with Avans University, that so many students wanted to help. And when two ambitious students from their green office started the idea of gifting a tree for a graduation gift, so a sustainable gift instead of, well, let's say a stupid pen or something like that, everyone was immediately excited. And it started as a very small initiative, let's say with a few faculties that wanted to do it, and in the end it turned out to a very big initiative. And what was nice there to see is that students did not only get a tree as a gift, they also got the chance to plant this tree. So it was an activity together. It was also an opportunity for them again to connect with the other students that they didn't see, because I think something what people also forget is we have a planting season. So if students are graduating in June and July, we can gift a tree, but then we give the voucher or we tell them they're gonna get a tree, but we cannot plant it then because it's summer. So we had to wait until I think November or October was the first time we did it in the Netherlands. And yeah, it was so cool to get like hundreds of students back to the campus or close by and to plant together. And I think, so the collaboration there is engagement, taking climate action, also regreening an area then close to their university. And I can keep talking, Sam, but I think that's like the cool part.
I think it's a wonderful example, and I believe we even have some images of that we can show maybe shortly.
I think there's
if you can start that video, just to give you a bit of an impression of how such a student-participated event can look like.
Vandaag 4000 bomen geplant door Avans alumni. Die zijn net afgestudeerd en die kunnen dat moment van afstuderen markeren door een boom te planten. En dan denk je, ja, één zo'n boom, maar het zijn er 4000. En zo creëren we een Avansbos.
Wat we wel wilden is onze medestudenten een soort bewustwording bijbrengen. En daarnaast iets wat heel erg blijvend was.
De boom die groeit dus verder met de student als hij of zij carrière gaat maken. En dat is zo leuk. Dus je kan over 10 jaar terugkomen. Dus die boom ook veel verder gegroeid. Je bent zelf heel anders in je leven gaan staan. Ja, misschien dat je wel kinderen hebt. Kan je met je kinderen hier naartoe komen om die boom te komen bezoeken. Superleuk.
Vandaag is echt een hele bijzondere dag voor Life Terra. Omdat er zoveel samenkomt. Het enthousiasme van de studenten om hier een boom te planten. En dat is natuurlijk ontstaan vanuit een samenwerking met Avans, met de gemeente, met de provincie. En waar we echt kunnen laten zien wat er gebeurt als je de handen ineens slaat.
We zijn met Life Terra de samenwerking aangegaan omdat Life Terra echt de specialist en de partij is om dit soort projecten mee op te pakken. Life Terra heeft een grote opdracht gekregen van de Europese Commissie om de ontbossing tegen te gaan. En heeft ons geadviseerd, ook over de biodiversiteit. Hoe pak je zoiets aan? Welke bomen waar? De partij om mee samen te werken.
Voor Lifeterra is het heel belangrijk dat het niet alleen maar om bomenplanten gaat. Het gaat ook wel echt om bewustwording rondom klimaatverandering. We hebben een fantastisch onderwijsprogramma voor kinderen van 8 tot en met 14 jaar. Maar door de samenwerking met Avans bereiken we ook weer een nieuwe doelgroep. En dat zijn de studenten en de alumni.
De langetermijnvisie van een opleiding is dat je een leven lang leert. En dat wordt ook steeds duidelijker. En daarom is het goed dat wij als Avans ook aangehaakt blijven. En onze alumni ook uitnodigen om terug te komen. En nu sta ik hier met mijn laarzen aan en zie ik dat de echte eerste kluiten, de bomen, geplant worden. Ja, dat is geweldig.
I think it's a wonderful example of how we can get students involved, and we know that it has led to actually more initiatives at the university to implement other sustainability issues as well, and giving more power to the Green Office and to those students that really want to achieve change. So thank you for that. Let me move back to our first speaker, to Ivar, because you said how to create the change, or the sort of the interest for change. But as we've seen, there's a lot of opportunities. Maybe you can give us some concrete pointers as to what the university, what VU Amsterdam has done or is doing in order to become more sustainable.
Yes. We work on, let's say, so a very wide range of projects, and I will just go through them very quickly then, in terms of education, research, knowledge transfer, and operations. Again, to me, the operational side is something you just have to do. It doesn't mean it's easy, but you just have to do it. But where we make a difference, our core business, that is where, let's say, the real change needs to happen, and where sometimes it's also most difficult one. For education, for example, our targets now are, where we're currently working on, is to ensure sustainability education is well embedded in each and every program. And at the same time, so that is, let's say, more an administrative route, and at the same time assist teachers in helping them how to teach about sustainability and how to teach sustainably. You can say things top down, but if then the people don't know how to do it, it doesn't work. So you need both directions. And then for research, I think one of the biggest things is that we work with seed money projects to ensure that there are collaborations on campus to address our own sustainability issues. So we have so many wonderful researchers here that are also specialized quite often in the issues that we encounter as an organization ourselves. So that is just wonderful to get them on board and to, just work with them to address those issues. For knowledge transfer, I think one of the biggest steps we took there is that we went through a very long process with our community on what our position is towards fossil fuel industry. And the reason why we specifically were thinking or had to evaluate that is because scientifically, they have a terrible track record in ethical sense, in terms of science communication and misinformation, and they play a vital role in the energy transition when they take it. And so far, at least, again, this is from studies, so far they haven't taken up that role. And that's what caused us, or that is what led VU to say, well, fundamentally, these companies do not align with our values. And as long as they don't comply with the Paris Agreement, meaning they structurally and systematically reduce their emissions in line with the Paris Accord, we will not collaborate with you. And I think that's, I think in terms of process, we did it as a community together. How it was, let's say, set up, I think it's wonderful. And I think the signaling there and the decision is also very good and very strong. It doesn't mean that the door is completely closed, because again, we do need everyone for the energy transition. But as long as they don't comply, we don't feel that they are, let's say, well enough. They don't deserve our collaboration, so to say. And yeah, so they need to improve that. Well, and then
sorry.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Now, very briefly, then, and in terms of then the organization. So yeah, we are currently working on a integral CO2 reduction plan with an ambitious, also for ourselves, an ambitious net zero target. So those are then there, and that indeed comes back in everything. Like yeah, so many things, and indeed,
basically,
maybe now to sorry, and then the final thing, and indeed, I think also that is good that. So reduction of sort of the quickest reduction of your emissions is very important, but there will probably always be a part of compensation left. And I think also there is wonderful how we work together also with LifeTerra on also there trying to well engage that first steps in how that CO2 compensation can look like in terms of tree planting.
Excellent. I think it's very clear that you have to approach it from different perspectives. The signaling towards both staff and students and society, I think, is very important, but also to have a concrete plan to how you can diminish emissions. I was wondering, thank you, Ivar. I was wondering, Michaela, you are a lot in touch with students, also international students. I know that you are a very international university. Do you think, or do you see a trend in which those students base their decision to come to your University of Pavia, for example, based on the arguments of sustainability? Do you feel that you get more questions about these issues?
Absolutely, yes. And I took a couple of examples about that. The first one is related to one of our new degree courses that is concentrated to create sustainability managers. We launched this master degree last year, and we received a quantity of application that was not expected. So to me, this demonstrates that youngers want to also engage themselves on this kind of careers in the future. They want to be taught, they want to learn about how to bring sustainability in their life, in their professional life. Secondly, I just want to agree another time with Ivan because at the University of Pavia, when I was referring to our long-term policy to revise all the international agreements we have, taking into consideration the level of engagement in sustainable action with our partners was directly related to the discussion that we just have with Ivan. We don't want, this is of course something that we cannot implement in a brief period of time because, you know, we need to have a transition. But in a long-term vision, I don't want to cooperate anymore with universities that are not taking care about this topic. And this is something that we will develop in 5 or 6 years, I guess. So sorry,
okay.
If you are not.
No, that's good. That's very interesting. Yeah. Thank you, Michaela. Let me move back in now to Friso. I mean, Ernst & Young, EY, you guys are present in 150 countries or 155 countries. You have a lot of experience in this sector, see all the different business cases. I think it makes a lot of sense because universities can save money with their infrastructure in the end. And so my question is, because always the investment is high, what kind of mechanisms do you guys propose in order for these big corporations, these organizations, in order to pay for all this, to pay for this transition? I think it could be interesting for us to know at least some examples of how this could work.
Yeah. Well, firstly, I would say, you know, that that we've come a long way, and especially in today's climate, a lot of these measures that you can think of are a sound economic choice. I mean, not even if you would totally disregard the sustainability part of it, it's a sound economic choice to implement these measures, mostly because of high energy prices. And what also really helps is that a lot of these investments have come down, such as solar panels that have become very cheap and much more efficient. Energy storage, batteries have become, economically viable. LED lighting, heat pumps, all of that is becoming more mainstream. The investment's becoming lower, and the whole economics of that is just improved so much over time. And then even if it isn't an economic, viable investment, then of course you should take into account, the external costs of your emissions. And if you take that into the mix, which I think makes a lot of sense, and so external cost to society, basically, of your footprint, then that really makes all of these measures pretty much a no-brainer. And so, but that doesn't mean even if a business case is economically viable in and of itself, that doesn't mean that you necessarily have the means to implement them from a financial perspective. So for universities and also for private companies, but if we focus on that, I think a very interesting way to do this is to have an ESCO, an energy service company, that basically does all the investments for you. It's often set up by an installation company or by a developer, or a specialized energy company that basically makes the investments for you and basically sells it back to you. You can look at it as energy as a service, lighting as a service. So you basically just pay a recurring fee, which you can incorporate in your P&L, and that takes away the burden of having to find the funds, because you, as a university, you may not be set up to have the specific knowledge and contacts with financiers to attract the best possible funding. So this is really a way of having this external company that can do whatever is required for you to reach your goals, make the investments, and actually also do all of the maintenance of the systems that you implement, and then they can do the financing. And if the investment is large enough, then you can really talk to investors and banks that can provide funding at very attractive rates, whereas you as a university may be constrained in what you can do financially. So this is really a way of taking away that burden and just make it a very straightforward thing where you just pay that one fee and everything gets taken care of. Of course, you need to be very careful and diligent in who you do it with, and how to make sure that you procure the best quality against the best cost with a reliable and credible counterparty. So of course you need to run a well-designed process to get this in place and to structure it such that you are sure that you're actually achieving your goals and it fits your budget. But I think this is definitely a way for anyone, and maybe to stress that of course this is the cost side of things, but all the advantages of implementing these measures stay with the university. So all of the cost savings and whatever else benefits come from the measures, they stay with the university. You're just putting the investment in a separate vehicle and paying that vehicle so that the investment is covered, the maintenance cost is covered, the financing cost is covered, and this makes it a very straightforward deal altogether.
Excellent. That basically means what you say is that if you have the vision to do such a project, if you have the infrastructure, then the argument of not being able to finance it, it doesn't exist. There are always opportunities of organizations that can take away that burden. So I think that's a fantastic new sort of perspective in order to to say that if there's enough pressure from society, from students, from faculty members, then this can be done, and these universities can play this leading role in the transition. Thank you for that. Given the time that we have very little time, we still want to do some Q&A. Maybe some last question to Nadia around. So we've seen that these students can help, can be very engaged, and can help to give this bottom-up push to the top. But what should organizations like universities take into account when they want to organize a planting event and get their students involved?
Preparation, it takes some time, so it's something we really, I think, we cannot do it immediately next month. The planting season, like I mentioned, so if they want to plant trees, the season runs approximately from November until, let's say, March. So I think in June you just need to get started. I think there are different parties that are interested, so it can be a green office, but also an alumni, like the alumni department, or someone from the university that's responsible for this. They also like to stay in touch with their alumni and to find a reason how they can invite them back to the university or to stay in touch. So I think you need to find your way internally. Also teachers maybe that are more taking climate action themselves as well. Try to find this person that also cares and just wants to start the conversation with you. I also saw in the questions, Ivar also gave some tips around setting up a green office, because not all the universities have a green office in place yet. I think we can sort of call it a movement that has been happening the past years. And there was a helpful link with more information.
Okay, thank you very much, Nadia. And indeed, it's true that if you go to the questions, we have already quite some questions from the participants. So thank you for those. We have very little time left. Maybe we can pick out a few that have still not been answered and that can be sort of relevant to all of the audience. And I see some questions here on contact details and presentations that, of course, we can share with you later on. The Q&A will also be open afterwards. We'll be able to add more answers to that. So even if your question does not get answered, be sure that we will try to do that later on. Now, randomly, to pick out a question that can be relevant. So I think the green office has been discussed. Who takes care of the trees when they're planted to ensure they grow well? This has been answered. The university took care for this for minimum 20 years. Do know that LifeTerra signs agreements with landowners for 40 years to ensure that the trees that are planted actually have the longest possible time, because a tree takes decades to mature, and hopefully it will never be cut and will always be there. But at least we try to ensure the longest possible term of collaboration with the landowner. Any other questions that have just come in? Otherwise, you can put them either in the chat or under the questions bank. No?
Can I ask? But
yeah,
there may be a question to Michaela. Do you have a green office, actually?
Yes, we have the name is different, is Office for Sustainable Action, and we are collaborating together every day.
I think what's good to highlight as well, or what was successful in our first collaboration with Avans University, is that the students looked for an idea where already budget was available for. So for a graduation gift, they knew they already had a small budget for every student. And because of that, there was not that much additional budget needed. And I would say it was kind of hard to say, like, no, I don't want you to plant trees. So I think it's also good to see, do we have the budget? Because I think that's most of the time the most challenging part.
I just came across an interesting question here from Nicoletta Rizea from the University in Romania. Thanks for joining us today in the webinar. And you say, how can I address this best to my university? Well, we are planting already trees in Romania. So if you contact us, we for sure can help to push this at your university. If there's a green office, better. If not, we can try it in any other way. There's a lot of tree planting going on in Romania. You're one of the biggest, because you guys have a lot of space there. And there's a lot going on in terms of sustainability. So I think it's a wonderful moment to try and get to engage your university as well. Are there any new questions? Well, they are at the top. How many people, a question from Antonio, how many people can join in an event? I think that's a question for Nadia.
Yeah, it depends for whom we're organizing it. We also organize tree planting events for companies, and then we aim for around 40, 50 people. When it comes to a university, it depends on the interest. I would say around 100 students is easy doable for us. When there are more students interested, we can make it work, but then maybe they can plant less trees. So we are flexible, but I would say it depends on the location and the interest as well. But you also see with students a lot. I think if you organize events for students, there's always a no-show, or everyone loves it, but in the end, to really come out there, maybe 20, 30% will really show up. Which is still a great group, but I think 200 students is a great group. It's also nice to have the personal attention still, because we do need to make sure people plant the trees in the right way.
Excellent, thank you for that. We are going towards the end of the webinar, because we really have to cut it off at 1 o'clock CET. So maybe just a quick round of final thoughts. Beginning again with Ivar, sort of your conclusions from this webinar on how to make this work and make it available for all universities across Europe and maybe even beyond that.
That's a modest final thought on on a very big topic then. No, I was just, maybe something I was just thinking about, it is also so much about taking responsibility, making also difficult decisions that are also courageous decisions at that. And yeah, again, this is a climate crisis. We will have to make choices that are difficult and that will hurt. And yeah, are we prepared to take them? And I think, yeah, more and more indeed. So also that, and I don't mean this negatively, but a business case is good, but yeah, you also just need, let's say, administrative willpower and vision to really make a change. So, well, some final thoughts.
That makes a lot of sense what you say, and maybe Michele, you have something to add there as well. I think what was very interesting what you said about the interest from international students that are demanding not only interesting course material on sustainability, but actually action from the institution itself. If you have any other thoughts about that, it would be nice to hear from you.
Yes, as already said, I really guess that the sustainability has a cost, and institutions should take care about this and not young people. So we have to, as Ivar said, we have to take difficult choices and absolutely move budget to this priority, and we can do it.
That's great. I love the positive answer at the end. But of course, I mean, we also have Friso here as with your last thoughts, because in the end, if we're talking about big investments, you explain that there are parties that are willing to cover that cost, to cover that investment. So any last thoughts from you? I mean, it basically to confirm that there is not a real barrier in order to implement this big scale.
Yeah, I think from that perspective, it doesn't matter how large the challenge. There's always parties that can help you. So a large investment should definitely not be a reason not to do it. And we're always happy to talk to clients and see how to best structure this to make sure that it becomes bankable and investable. And that really takes away one of the big hurdles that parties are experiencing. So I think those challenges can definitely be overcome, and clearly, for universities, I would say, especially with the current generation attending universities, it is such a no-brainer that they can be leaders in this field. So very happy to be able to contribute here today, and interesting. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you. Nadia, maybe you have you have 1 minute left before we close the webinar. Some final thoughts, if you have.
Yeah, I think it's very inspiring to see how universities really are trying to make a change and an effort. From Life Terra, we're focusing on tree planting. We are aware this is not the only solution or what it takes, but we do believe, and we have seen, it's a very impactful activity in the field to also engage stakeholders in becoming more involved. Because in the end, everyone loves planting trees, and if you're there together, you get the chance as well to speak with many different departments, and it can be a start for change.
Fantastic. We learned about top-down, we learned about bottom-up, we learned about climate action and everything all the initiatives that you can take at university and college level. We learned also about financing. Thanks everybody, Ivar, Michaela, Friso and Nadia, for your time and for your bringing your expert knowledge to this webinar. Thank you, Luc, for hosting. This will be recorded and will be available on the internet. And we look forward to speaking to you on new occasions. And for now, have a great rest of the day. Thank you.